Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. If it's your first time, please consider subscribing after you check out this video, see what I'm all about. And yeah, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. I appreciate all the love. I truly do. You've seen from the title, this is my January wrap up slash my Bookworm's New Year Readathon. I have my paper here. I have made all kind of notes and things. Don't worry about that though. I will have a fresh one here on the screen for you so you can see what I scratched off on the card. It's like a bingo card, what I did, and things got mixed up because you will check out my January plans, my TBR video. I changed quite a bit. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I ended up crossing off 3 rows, I think. I did a book written by a POC, person of color, a book from a different genre, a debut novel. Then I also did Diagonal, a book you meant to read in 2020, top of your TBR, and again, debut novel. And then straight down the middle, a 2021 reading goal, top of your TBR, a book from a different genre. I couldn't do review your favorite book from 2011 because I was not a series reader back then. A book you are intimidated by, I just didn't even bother because it wouldn't have fit any of the other rows. And then a physical book left unread the longest. Again, I've talked about this in a previous video, but I'm more of a minimalist, so I don't have a ton of books. So I don't really have physical books left unread, but yeah. So let's talk about the books I did read. And let's start with The Martian by Andy Weir. This one, I wasn't even sure if I was going to include it in this video because I am listening to the audiobook and I'm not quite finished as of recording this video, but I am right here. This is all I have left. And I'm sure by the time I edit this video, I will be done. So I will just include my rating, but I already know what it is because I'm almost done with the book. You can tell by my tone. It's okay. I actually had DNF'd this and then I was like, okay, let me see how the audiobook is because I hear many people say, you know, a book may not be that great reading it, but the audiobook is better. So I found the audiobook and it's narrated by Will Wheaton, who used to be on Star Trek. I know him from Big Bang Theory. So I was like, okay. I started listening to the audiobook. It was way more entertaining that way. I don't know how far I had gotten into it, maybe like 15% of the way. I don't even know, but started listening to the audiobook and I was like, okay, now I can get through it. And as I said, it was very entertaining listening to Will Wheaton, but that only lasted for a good, I don't know, maybe 30% more of the book. I said in my January reading plans video that this book I heard wasn't so much science of the science fiction. I don't know who said that. That's not true. I had read a preview of this and I saw that it was written in like a diary format where it's him keeping a diary and each chapter or each part starts with log soul 42, log entry soul 42, log entry soul 117, log entry 449. I'm just flipping the various pages. And after a while, it just got to be like, okay. I was most fascinated with the part in the book where he's farming. If you don't know what this book is about, it's about an astronaut who gets stranded on Mars. His team that he was with, they think he's dead, so they leave him, but he's clearly very much alive, and he has to figure out how to survive until he can get off the planet. So yeah, I already seen the movie, and I like the movie, so I was like, I'm sure I like the book. And as I said, I liked the part when he was farming the potatoes and when he had just gotten there, he was trying to figure everything out. Then it progressed from there. And as I said, it was just too much science of the science fiction. What did perk me up to keep me reading was when they switched to what was going on here on Earth and the people at NASA, when they found out he was alive and them trying to figure out how to rescue him. So that part I found really interesting. And then we'd go back to Mark Watney on Mars. It'd be more science and math and as I said, I'm almost done with the book and I give it 2 out of 5 stars. It's just okay. It has been a struggle to get through, I will say. I've been listening to the audiobook sometimes when I'm putting groceries away. I listen to it whenever I'm in the car. I've listened to it sometimes when I'm getting dressed or something in the morning. Or I listened to it today when I got ready for this video. And yeah, like I said, it's taken me all of January to get through this book. So yeah. I actually wrote down, there was a quote in the book, or a part in the book, that I feel like summed up the whole book, and I didn't even need to read it. It comes on page 341, and Mark Watney says, "My terrifying struggle to stay alive became somehow routine." And he said he was a farmer, a trucker, which was the boring part for me, and then finally a construction worker. Boring. I enjoyed the farmer part. The trucker and the construction worker, no. So yes, as I said, The Martian, 2 out of 5. I'm so glad I read another sci-fi book this month. Otherwise, it wouldn't have turned me off, because I know other sci-fi books are not like this, but I will not read another one that's in diary, journal, format. No. Moving on. So, as far as the Bookworm's New Year Readathon, that is my book from a different genre, of course. And it is also my 2021 reading goal, because I want to read more science fiction books this year and going forward. So, yes, moving on. All right. So, this next book goes on my list. Again, I have the paper here for a book I meant to read in 2020, top of my TBR. And yes, it fits those two things. And that book is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. If you follow me on Goodreads, you already know how I feel about this book. If you do not, drum roll please. This is a DNF. Did not like this book. I DNF'd on page 42. Let me tell you what happened. It started off really strong for me. This book, if you don't know, is about a bunch of horror writers who get invited to stay at this haunted house to see, if it's haunted, basically, and it's going to be streamed, and it's like a publicity stunt or something like that. So the first author that we started with, I loved his story, his chapter. It was this horror writer who's also a professor. Again, after I read The Silent Patient, I was like, I love books that have to do with like teachers and psychiatrists and like really smart people. I just love that. Not astronauts. No. But anyway, people who are really into literature and that kind of things, and books, and like I said, that kind of stuff. I can't wait to read a book about an author. But yeah, so I said this don't count, clearly. But anyway, I loved his chapter. Then we switched to the perspective of a female author. Her name she was referred to as Moore. We got to her chapter. She was more vulgar. She was having a meeting with some publicists or whatever that were criticizing her book, and they were trying to turn it into a movie. And like I said, she was just vulgar, and there were things that came out that had to do with sex and sexuality. And I was just like, why is this written like this? Because the first one wasn't. But I was like, okay, anyway, I'm sure the next couple chapters are going to introduce all the other authors. But no, it went back to the first one. His name was Sam. Went back to him. So I was like, okay, I like Sam. Let's go back to him. Again, I was fine with his chapter. Then we go back to Moore. And this is when I was done. The over-sexualization of her character continued. Scott Thomas had her, I have my notes because I have a book journal now. He had her working out, and then she was walking around with no top on or something like that. She'd taken her bra off or whatever. I don't know who's doing that after you work out. But anyway, he said she likes to write in the nude. He also lists some of her hobbies and said one of them is sex. And then he referred to her breasts just too many times for my liking. So whenever I'm getting ready to DNF a book, I go on Goodreads just to see, is it just me? Is it just me? And I went on Goodreads, and so many people complained about the way Scott Thomas wrote the character Moore and how he overly sexualized her. Somebody even said you could make a drinking game out of how many times he mentioned breasts or something. Apparently, there was also another character in this book who was fat shamed, that he just kept referring to this character's overweight or his weight, and just every time he mentioned him. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm so disappointed though, because I had high hopes for this book, but I just couldn't deal with his writing about Moore. Yeah, sorry. So this is a DNF. It's fine. Moving on. Okay. So now we get to, this is also, it's technically a book I meant to read in 2020. Most of these are. But this is my book written by a person of color, and it is The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval. I hope that's how you say his name. I found out about this book like when I first got on BookTube, or first started looking for books to read. This was on some people's lists as like one of the scariest books or whatever. And so I was like, oh, okay. I read the synopsis and the preview and I was like, okay, I can't wait to read it. And because it fit. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, so yeah, this was on a lot of people's lists for like scary books or whatever books they recommended for horror books. So it's a novella, but I was like, okay, we can squeeze this in January because I had 2 short books. So I was like, we're going to squeeze this in. This book is about a man named Charles. He goes to deliver an occult book to this sorceress. And then it's like, what happens after that? I will say the description is a little misleading. That part was just very minor in the book. This book is supposed to have taken place in the 1920s. So like I said, it focuses a lot on racism and race. And that is not what I was looking for in this book. If I wanted to read that, I would have been looking for that. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted the Lovecraft part of it. That's what people have said about this book. The author even put a little note to H.P. Lovecraft. It says, for H.P. Lovecraft, with all my conflicted feelings. So again, I'm thinking this is my introduction into like some Lovecraftian type of writing. Not really. That came, but it came way too late for me. This book is only 149 pages and it was a struggle to get through. I'm sorry to say. I gave this book 2 out of 5. I found it pretty boring, unfortunately. It was not enough spookiness. It had some spooky parts in the beginning when he went to go visit the sorceress and then he encounters this other character who becomes a big character in the book. Those 2 parts were spooky to me. And then again, he'd go back to his town, back to Harlem, whatever, and his dad, and then this bar he was hanging out at. And again, that part was boring to me. And again, too much mention of the racism. I understand from the time period, but again, it's not what I was looking for. And then we get to part 2 of this book, which is the midway part. And we switch to a different perspective. We switch to this cop named Malone. And I was like, what happened to Charles? We spent the first half of the book getting to know Charles, and all of a sudden we switch over to Malone, who I didn't care about. So that frustrated the hell out of me because I didn't want to read about Malone. And then it brought us back to Charles eventually, but it took too long to get there. And that is when you get to like the best part of the book, in my opinion, which was, I wrote down chapter 16, which was page 115 towards the end of the book. It was a lot of action there. That's when we get to more of the Lovecraftian part. Like I said, that part was great. I wish there was more of that in the whole book. But like I said, it took till the end to get there. As I said, overall, it was just okay. You can check it out for yourself. A lot of people do love this book. It was just okay to me. So again, 2 out of 5. Sorry. All right. So next up on the list, this is, again, a book I meant to read in 2020. I also would consider this top of my TBR. Home Before Dark was the very top, but at the time that I was participating in this readathon, I couldn't get a hold of Home Before Dark, so this book was next on my list. I feel like horror, thriller for me, they're always like neck and neck, so I have top of the list for horror, top of the list for thriller. This was the top of the list for thriller for me, and that is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Again, I heard so much about this book that I was like, I have to read it. I got to see for myself. Got to know. And basically this book is about a young lady named Rowan who gets a live-in nanny job to take care of, I think it's 3 girls. And it's basically the smart house. I just found out after I read the book that it's based loose or somewhat based on The Turn of the Screw. So yeah, I didn't know anything about that when I read this book, but anyway, if you know about that book, this is supposed to be based on that, except, with some changes to bring it more into the current. And the synopsis tells you right away that Rowan is in jail and she's accused of killing a child. We don't know who, but the book starts with her writing a letter to a lawyer. They call it something else she's in Scotland. They call it I don't know, whatever. They call it something else. I'll put it up here if I feel like looking for it. But she's writing a letter to him, trying to convince him of why she's innocent of killing this child. And that's basically how the book starts. And then we end up reading it from the perspective of her writing to the lawyer, but of course it's more like a story. So I love that. That was great. It started off really strong, like I said, with her letters to the lawyer and then setting up the story. I was here for it. This one, I mean, it was good. It was a slow burn though for me. Just off of some other thrillers that I liked more and I preferred. I was looking for some more action. But I did love Ruth Ware's writing. She did a really great job with creating the creepy atmosphere. Even when there wasn't much going on, just the way it was described, it was just like, I was on the edge of my seat. Like, what is it? What is that? What is on the tablet? What is, why can't you get in the house? It was just, like I said, she created a really, creepy atmosphere. And I like the way she incorporated the smart house with that, because I am one, I don't like all that stuff. So that is creepy to me anyway. But yeah, so it, like I said, it just was a little slow for me. There was not enough twists and turns. I didn't find myself rushing to read it. I was reading it because I wanted to get through it so I could get to the next book, but I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens. When it got towards the end, that was definitely when we got to the page turners, honey. But, Lord, we did not find out what happened until the very last page and a half. And I do mean the very last page and a half. I was like, when you finish the actual chapters of the book, I mean, they're technically epilogues, but she didn't title it that. But when you got to the end of the book, I was like, what happened? And I knew there were the two little epilogue things coming up. So I was like, we better get some answers there, which we did. But as I said, it took until the last page and a half. But anyway, I was here for it. I liked what she did, her twist. I know some people in Goodreads said they saw it coming. I don't know what they talk about. I sure didn't. But I liked it. It did leave an unanswered question though, which is a big one. That was a little frustrating. That probably knocked it down a star for me, because otherwise I would have given this 4 stars. But because of that, it got knocked down to 3. But it was, like I said, it was enjoyable. It was nowhere near top of the list for thrillers for me. But again, I'd say, if you really want to read it and you know about Turn of the Screw, or from what I say, you want to check it out, give it a read. As I said, 3 out of 5 stars. And I will definitely read more Ruth Ware. I'm intrigued. We'll keep it going. All right. Next up, we have, this is another book that takes up 2 spots. This is a book from a different genre, and it's also a book by a POC, person of color, and that is Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm not sure. I hate trying to say these authors' names. There's no pronunciation here, so I'm doing the best I can. But anyway, this is a really short novella. You can see here, it is 90 pages, but let me tell you, honey, I flew through this in like 2 hours. I got this to go along with Ballad of Black Tom because I knew I was going to try to read a lot this month. And I was like, hopefully I'll fly through it because it's 90 pages, but I had no idea how fast I was going to read it. Once I opened this book, I could not put it down. I'm going to tell you right now, this was 5 stars. 5 stars. I loved it. I already got the second book, getting ready to read it for February. I loved it. So, yes, it is about a young lady named Binti who gets accepted to Umza University that's in the Galaxy. And her family doesn't want her to go, but she's been dreaming of going to this school. It's supposed to be like, what does it say? One of the finest institutions of higher learning in the Galaxy. So she couldn't turn that down. She has special gifts that, you'd have to read the book to see. But what I did not know is that this was a fast-paced thriller mystery for me. Not mystery, fast-paced thriller, horror, sci-fi book. I've been wanting to read a horror sci-fi, but I didn't know that's what I was getting in this book. Nobody told me. So it was a pleasant surprise. Like I said, it started off like, setting up her story and telling you a little bit about her heritage and stuff like that, her appearance and those kind of things that come into play. But then she gets on the ship to go to this Umza University, and everything's going well. She's meeting people, taking classes, and then the ish hit the fan on page 24. And it was like, what's going on here? From that point on, I could not stop reading. I had to know what was happening, what was going to happen. It was just so, like I said, edge of my seat. This is a horror alien story. It's a story about survivalism, friendship, culture, respect of land and animals. It was just a lot of things. I don't know what else to say about this book because, like I said, I loved it. And I will say again, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm already going to read the second book February, so you have to stay tuned to see what I have to say about that. But yes, first 5-star book of 2021. So yay, let's give it up for that. And this made me want to read more sci-fi in the future. So that will be to come. All right. Last but not least, this book was not in my original video because I, again, switched some things around. I dropped The Shining. I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed, but I will talk about that in a future video that I have coming. So stay tuned for that. But I was looking for something else to fill, a row. And I was like, why don't I try to find a debut novel? So I was searching online and I came across this thriller and I was like, ooh, let's read that. And that is No Bad Deed by Heather Chavez. We have a little blurb here. She stopped to save a stranger. Now only she can save herself. So I will give you a brief synopsis of what this book is about because I didn't talk about it in my previous video. But it's about a young lady. I'm so used to saying young lady. She ain't young. She's a grown woman. Grown. It is about a grown woman named Cassie Larkin. She is a veterinarian. She's a mom of 2 children. One is a teenage boy, and then she has a young daughter. She's, I don't know, 5, 6, something like that. And of course, she's married, got her husband. And then it says in the synopsis that she is driving home one rainy night and she sees this couple in an altercation. She pulls over to try to help the woman, and the man turns on her and tells her to make a decision. He says to her, let her die and I'll let you live. And she ends up getting involved. The woman doesn't die. So then he's now coming for her. I was so intrigued by this. I was like, I love this concept. I have to see what's going to happen. Everything that was in that synopsis was in the first chapter of the book. I was just like, wow, okay, that was just the first chapter. And again, I was like, suspense, here for it. After that, she goes back home. She's scared. She has to report things to the police. It's like telling her husband. Now she's worried about her family, et cetera, et cetera. We go on from there with this man trying to come after her and her trying to keep her family safe, and et cetera, et cetera. Then, I'd say somewhere probably close to the middle, it just slowed down for me. I found the writing, it wasn't the best, I hate to say. This is her debut novel, so I'm sure her next one will get better. But for this one, it was just a lot of description that was not necessary. Like, it'd be a whole page of description, and then it just didn't come into play later on. Like, you taking a whole page to describe the breakfast they're having, but then it didn't even matter later. It was like, why do I need to know how the breakfast smelled and where your child was sitting and what was on the TV? It was just a lot. It just reminded me of like when you're in school and you have like 1,000 words and you're just trying to find words to fill up the pages. Sorry, but that's what it reminded me of. By the time I got to like where I had 100 pages left, I started skimming a lot of the unnecessary descriptions and I wasn't even missing anything. It was just like, okay, I could tell by the page it was just a description. I'd be like, can we get to it? And then when we get to starting to understand some of the mystery or twist of the book, there were just things that were just unbelievable for me. There were things that happened that I was confused. Like, how did we get from this to this? And then I'd go back. I actually would go back and try to see if I missed something, and I didn't. And I was like, but I don't understand. How did he get here? Or how did the detective know about this? Like, I didn't understand. There were just was quite a few things that I just didn't get, but I just went along anyway because I was trying to just get this done so I could move on to other books. And I will say this is the first thriller because other books I've read, I kind of saw what was like, oh, I see where we're going with this, but it would be like 2 sentences before it was revealed or a paragraph before. This one, I knew where we were going probably a couple chapters before it happened. Like, there's a character who's telling her a story, and it basically is going to explain the twist to the book. I already knew before he got started. I was like, oh, that's where this is going. Okay, I get it. And then, again, I still had questions. It also just, the motivation for her got twisted because of this twist that I can't say. Twisted and twist, whatever. It just... I hate to say that because like I when I posted about this on Instagram, the author actually responded to me. She seems nice, But yeah, it just wasn't my favorite thriller that I've read so far. It was probably my least favorite. I'm giving it 2 out of 5. It was just okay. And like I said, I hate to say that because the author seems nice. We'll see what her next book holds, if I want to read it or not. But yeah, you can check it out though. You may like it more than I did. I don't know what else to say. So that wraps up my January reading and my Bookworms New Year Readathon. I actually read, let's see here. I actually got through 6 books this month. I'm so proud of myself. I can't believe I did that. It would have been 5 if I didn't. Well, actually, probably would have been 4, my usual. It got to be 5 because of the audiobook of The Martian, and Kill Creek technically doesn't count since I DNF'd that. But either way, I had 6 books to talk about in this video, and I got through 5. So yeah, I'm so proud of myself. February will not look like this because it's a shorter month, so I don't expect to get as much done. But March has a lot of days, so we shall see. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want to say thank you to everyone who has showed me love. I truly appreciate it. A lot of you have made my day and days when I get comments that talk about how much you love my personality and all that stuff. Jeez. But anyway, again, I appreciate you. Please subscribe for more videos. I have some things coming up, of course, and give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. You can follow me on Goodreads, Instagram. Sometimes in my stories, I update things, you know, what's going on with the books I'm reading. You can see my cats, you know, I love my kitties. But yes, until the next video, stay cozy in your hideaway with a good book. Take care of yourself. Unplug from media as much as possible. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.